Okay, so today I want to talk about the two levels of processing, conscious and unconscious, and the goal being to take most of your processing that is occurring at the conscious level and bring it down to the unconscious level, because that allows you to free up more energy to do more things because you've allocated the resources, the habits that you've generated on a systematic basis to your unconscious mind. So let me actually break that down. So basically what you're trying to do, it's like a computer RAM. So essentially you have limited resources in your conscious mode of thinking and being. You have more resources, more free space available in your unconscious mind, but you can't access that as easily. And if you access it, it takes more intentional effort, more digging. But if you properly take the habits that you establish in your conscious mind and you can move them to the unconscious level, then what's going to happen is you're going to free up more space to do more things because more things have been moved to the unconscious level. It's kind of like the things that you do every day. You brush your teeth, you take a shower, you put your clothes on, just unconscious stuff that you do naturally without having to think about it at all. It doesn't take any energy. So let me read the note and then I'll break it down. Your mental energy is naturally less intentional when you have fewer resources available to allocate to conscious processes. So what that actually means is that once you start to have a lot of things on your mind, there's a lot of things to do. Your mental energy is less intentional, so you don't have as much energy, or the energy that you have that is limited. You can't be as intentional because the intention also requires energy. So being very intent on doing a specific thing in a specific way at a specific time, um, that actually requires energy in and of itself, in addition to the doing of that thing. So, so back to the note here, when you have fewer resources, mental resources to allocate to the conscious processing, your mental energy is naturally less intentional. So you become more tired, right? So, because again, you're trying to free up the space, but you can't do that very efficiently because you're taking up a lot of space in your conscious mind. So that means that training processes to become unconscious is the ultimate goal, such that more space is created for new processes to be optimized and subsequently assigned to the unconscious. So essentially, you have a bunch of unconscious processes, you have conscious processes. So the goal is everything that you're doing right now that feels effortful, and but that is actually beneficial for you. It's like the habit forming stuff that you do. The what you want to strive for is you want to take all of those activities, all of those things that you do, the habits, the actions, and you want to do them so consistently and so diligently and you want to do them well, of course, because if you move everything that you're doing to the unconscious, but you're doing it in such a way where it doesn't serve you, or it's not optimized, or it's the wrong way, then you're gonna basically entrain yourself to do things the wrong way, or in a way that's not optimized or not serving you. So you have to be very careful. That's why initially a lot of people say do the most important things in the morning, right? Like handle your priorities in the morning. The reason why is because typically that's when most people are fresh. Now, some people operate the opposite way, but the point is that you want to take all the activities that you're doing that are helpful and beneficial and move you forward, that you want to continue doing. You want to do them well, but you want to do them on a consistent basis and then move them to your unconscious. So that way, once you start to move things to a level where you don't have to really try so hard, then you're freeing up more space to put more things in that are again going to be helpful and are going to continue to move you forward. So that's why you're basically assigning the processes to your unconscious mind, so you can free up more space to optimize your life in a way that allows you to take on new habits, new behaviors, new tasks, new activities, new endeavors on a large scale, on a small scale, and everything in between. So the last thing I I wrote here is thus constantly transforming, because you're constantly transforming yourself, you create new instincts. And again, the instincts, I mean, that may take a lifetime to develop, right? Decades probably. So the goal is for these instincts to be near flawless. And that circles back to the point that I was just making, as far as you don't want to develop instincts that are not helpful. right? You could see this a lot of time in fighters, right? Where they start training from a very young age. Now they're like 35 years of age, 40 years of age, and they just have the instincts to like move a certain way or like strike a certain way or react a certain way in accordance with somebody else's aggression, as an example. So, but again, you hear this all the time, even in the context of fighting, is that, oh, he has a tendency to drop his hands, or when he, when he resets, he doesn't bring his hands up. So, and then they go to a new trainer, and the trainer basically has to not only train new habits, but untrain old habits. So you want to avoid having to untrain habits that you've developed that were not helpful. So the best thing that you can do is anything that you're currently doing, number one, find out if it's helpful, if it's useful, and if it's not, then you just get rid of it. Number two, if you find out that it is helpful, it is useful, find the best way to actually optimize it. So what you're trying to do is you want to make everything as pristine, as flawless as you can. Now, again, you're not going to get perfection, but you want to strive for excellence, right? So you want to get everything as good as you possibly can make it, and then continue to do that every single day, every single day, every single day. That way, it'll actually get rooted in your mind. Now, initially, the most important thing, especially if you're trying to form new habits, and this is something that I talk about all the time. Initially, it's just to do it, right? And I talked about this in the context of going to the gym. So it's not ideal if you go 20 minutes 3 times a week if you've never been to the gym. But the first thing that you need to do is just form the habit of going and working out. So once that habit is there, then you can kind of increase the complexity. But the complexity, as you increase it, you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way, right? As far as like your exercises, and when people say, okay, eat protein, before or after the workout. Ideally, what you don't want to do is go out and have a hamburger after every single workout from McDonald's. Like, that's probably not the best strategy. Now you could say, oh, macros, this and that, but think about the micronutrients, think about all the added chemicals, think about in general, like the condition of those nutrients, right? It's not high quality nutrients. So again, you want to follow the general principles. You want to establish a foundation upon the general principles, and then as you start to build, you want to make sure that everything you're building is put in the right place. Same with the example that I gave the other day, as far as the building of the structure next to me, right? It's like, well, they have the idea, they have the structures, like, oh, this is how it looks, and but now what you have to do is you have to care about the materials, how they're placed. You got to make sure the concrete is completely dry before you move on to the next thing. Everything has to be in its place. So again, establish the habits, and then once you establish habits on a general level, then you start to carefully and diligently do things in a way that's actually going to help you move forward. In a way that is going to optimize those habits, and then once those habits are kind of optimized and streamlined and as close to flawless or perfect, I don't like to use that word too often, as possible, then what you're doing is, once you establish that, then you continue doing that on a day-to-day basis, right? It's like you find it, and then now you repeat it over and over and over and over and over again, and then eventually those things move to your unconscious, and now you free up more space to do more things. So I wanted to keep this video on that specific level, because I think that's going to be important. And this goes back to everything that I'm saying, as far as like developing your character, developing your habits. These things are very important, because you can't just stay at one level the whole time. Because you might think, well, I'm just doing this every day, that's good enough. But you also don't want to just go through the motions, right? It's important in days where you don't have the energy, or you slept like crap, or you missed a meal, or you ate too much the night before because you were at some party, that you could still do the habits, and they can be half-assed, but at least you did them. But you don't want to have that as being your default, right? Your default, you want them to be optimized, right? As good as possible. So that's why I say focus on the habits first, and then you can kind of scale up from there. But until you figure out, what it is that you should be doing and how you should be optimizing your schedule, don't focus on like the tiny details. The details will come later. That's why having a calendar is such a great idea, because when you have a calendar, when you organize your calendar, your day, you're also organizing your mind. So for me, it's like, okay, I know exactly when my meetings are. So I know I have this much time in the morning because I wake up at the same time every day, and I have this much time at night because I go to sleep at the same time every day. So you need to also structure that, because when you do that, you realize that, okay, you're going to start to think for yourself. After I wake up, I only have this much time. And after I finish my last thing, I only have this much time. So in that time, I want to fit in XYZ. So in order to fit in XYZ, I have to find out what is the most efficient way to do XYZ in a way that will actually give me the benefits that I'm looking for. So, you know what I haven't done so far is like suggestions, recommendations, comments. Like if there's something that you think that I should cover, go into more detail about, you have a question, you want to, whatever, just drop it in the comments. You could DM me, whatever, and then I'll cover it or address it. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Hope that was helpful to kind of kick off your day there. It's only 12:30 for me, so I'll probably upload this pretty soon. And hope you have a great rest of your day, and see you next time.